Welcome to the podcast where my guests and I talk about anything and everything from sports, relationships, politics, movies to TV shows, current events, and conspiracy theories. No topic is ever off limits, and it's always uncensored. I'm Ben Borges, and this is Man Chatter. Hoy estamos con mi primo favorito, para que todo el mundo lo sepa. Ese man en el medio ahí es mi primo Josh. Él vive en Panama. He's going to tell us all about growing up in Panama, what it's like to be a part of this crazy family, and about his great networking business called After Talks. Josh, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you, Benji and John. Thank you for having me in this great initiative that you guys have, and I hope that everyone likes our story that we're going to be talking today.
Yeah, man. So, John, what questions do you have about Panama, man? I know my country. You don't know anything about it. This man, my cousin, can tell you everything, bro. Where to eat, where to go, where to live. Any questions you have, man, go at it, my brother.
Hey Josh, man, thanks again for coming on the show. I was getting really tired of listening to Ben talk about Bernie Sanders on every episode, so this should be a good change of pace.
Thank you for having me, please. Nice to meet you too.
All right, Josh, man, so let's get down to it. All right, this past summer, my family and I spent about 3 weeks in Europe, and one of those weeks we were in Spain, right? Most of it was in Alicante. We spent a day in Madrid, a day in Barcelona, a day or two in Valencia. But we really fell in love with Spain overall. Alicante, especially because it's on the coast, and I have family there. So after that trip, we've been talking about early retirement, but after that trip, we definitely decided 10 years from now, the goal is to retire and retire in Spain. Initially, it was the Philippines, but after that trip to Europe, and Spain has everything that we're looking for, transportation, the ease of transportation, the food, the cost of living. It just it was almost a no-brainer. So I told Ben about that, and he said, look, before you decide to jump to the other side of the world, talk to my cousin. You need to look at other places like Panama. Of course, being Panamanian, he's trying to sell me Panama. So, I'm sure you're here to talk about a bunch of different things, and we're going to get to those. But I guess you're the Panama sales rep. So, someone that's looking to retire, if I'm thinking about Spain, how do you sell Panama to me?
Holy S. I don't know if I can say like the words, so please stop
No,
me.
you can.
Um,
No, you
well,
can say whatever you can say whatever you
uh,
want.
well, I'm gonna try to sell you Panama. Panama is amazing. However, I also like Spain. I mean, I was born here in Panama and I love it here. I'm almost 30. 30s are the new 20s, by the way. So here living in Panama and growing up here in Panama, I feel like it's an easy country and it's an easy city. We only have like a one main city here. It's called Panama City. So I feel like for you and your wife to basically retire, right? I think here in Panama you have everything you need. I mean, here we have like we can go to the Caribbean and we can go to the Pacific like in a couple of hours. We have an amazing landscape. We have mountains. We have like great islands and beaches, and just the natural, all the nature that we have here is just impressive. But also we have a mix of modern and contemporary life in the Panama City landscape. If you go and check out in Google, you can see all the beautiful skyscrapers. It's basically it will give you a glimpse or something similar from Miami-ish. However, I like Spain as well. I mean, I used to live in Barcelona, and it's impressive. It's amazing, and Madrid is also incredible. So I will suggest you first to like do a research of both places. But if you're looking more for nature or a mix of nature with beaches and also like some modernity, I think I will pick Panama. But if I'm looking for more cheap hotels or more like cheap flying, or if you're in Spain, you can go anywhere in Europe like for 30 euros every weekend. So you have to put it on the balance.
Wow, man. Yeah, that's a lot to think about. And look, we love the nature aspect of it, right? I like to go out and go on a hike and just visit, just be out in nature, But having said that, I got to go back to our time in Europe and our time in Spain. Alicante, which is a city, but really it feels more like a big town that kind of got too big. So it's like a small city, big town type of feel, if that makes any sense. Even that place, we were a 10-minute walking distance from the not the subway, but the train station. And from there, we can catch a 2-hour bullet train to Madrid, or a 4-hour train to Barcelona, or Valencia is a little bit closer. And if not the train, then you can take the bus. The bus system is pretty well developed. So really, just public transportation in general. Not just in Spain but Europe. The urban planning that that took place. They really learned about public transportation, and it's great to have a vehicle to get around, but you don't need to have one necessarily. And if you choose not to take a train, the flights are so cheap. You're paying 50 or 60 euro, $70, whatever that works out to go from Spain to, say, Germany. Or if I really wanted to be out in nature, I can catch a 70 euro flight to Switzerland and go to Lake Lucerne, and like we did this past summer, go paragliding. You know, so Europe does for that as well, right? If I want to be out in nature, and it gives me that great public transportation that we're looking for. So it's definitely going to be a tough choice. I know I got to make my way down to Panama and really see what it has to offer so we can weigh all our options.
No, that's a great point. Yeah, mostly because you talk about the transportation. Then I will definitely pick. I mean, I love my country, but I will pick Europe because I feel like Europe has great main cities, mostly in Spain and in Western Europe. You have like great sense of transportation and uh, civilization, and the urbanism, the planification is like just very like clean, and it's very like easy for people to move and to travel and to just live. And however, Panama also has its magic and its great things. I mean, we have Uber here, so you can go anywhere. It's super easy. And so, yeah, I also think I really agree with you saying that traveling from the U.S., for example, where you guys live to the middle point in the U.S., it's like 300 between 300 and $500. It's the same here. Like if I want to go from Panama to Costa Rica, which is the next country, it's like almost $500, and to go to go from here to Europe, it's like $500. So you have to like think about those things as well whenever you pick where to live. Yeah.
That's true.
Okay. So what I really enjoyed when we stayed in Alicante was the fact that we were in the middle of everything, right? So we were in the city center and we stayed in this apartment on the fourth floor. And if we took the elevator down, everything was within walking distance. The grocery store, the beach, restaurants, cafes, bakeries, whatever. The metro station was 10 minutes away. How is it like in Panama City? Have you lived in the city center? Can you tell me what it's like to live in the city center, or within the city limits?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it really depends on your lifestyle and what you're up to. Because normally I've never lived in the center of the city. When I used to live with my parents, I used to live in the northern part of the Panama City. Now that I live with my boyfriend, we live in the eastern part.
Oh, I think we lost connection there. Hold on. I have some technical difficulties there.
We're back.
I think we're back. Yeah, we're back. We
Okay,
don't know what
great.
happened there.
Sorry, it's
Figured it out.
just
That's the issues of live stream, baby. That's the issues
it's.
of live stream.
I swear, technology here is great, you guys. No worries.
No, Josh, it's not your fault, man. Look, Benjamin lives out in the country, and his internet is still trying to catch up to 2001. You know what I mean? Like he's way out there in the Stone Age. Don't worry about it. We know it's Benjamin's fault.
It's like, yeah. Yo vivo en el campo. Yeah. Yo
Yeah.
vivo en el campo ahora, primo. Yeah. Yo vivo en el campo. Mi
No, no, no,
internet
no
está
worries.
más viejo que. Yeah. So what were you saying, man?
No, I was
You're
saying
talking
that
about living in the center of the city.
living in the center of the city, it really depends on your lifestyle. But I think it's really cool to live a little bit outside of the city, so you're not in the middle of the chaos. So yeah, I think it's great. So yeah, if you have a car, it's always easy, even though the traffic can be a little crazy. But walking here in Panama City, it can be also tricky because we have a weather situation going on always. We have two. We don't have
Mhm.
like a four seasons. We only have two great and very different stations. I would say we have the dry season and the wet season. So either it rains a lot, or either it's super hot, or it's hot all the time but being dry. So it really depends. However, if you live a little bit outside the city, for example, I live in this eastern city called Costa del Este, and I work here as well. So it's very easy to walk everywhere, or just have a if you want to buy like these scooters that are electric, you can just buy one and go anywhere here because everything's close. So it really depends on your lifestyle, or where you want to live, or what's easier for you.
Yeah. So one of the things, so John, I'll tell you one of the things that Josh failed to mention there. The traffic in the city is insane, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're having to drive, listen. I got pulled over. I was there 2 years ago, and 2 years before that, I got pulled over 3 times. The driving is crazy. Like I told you, you have to bribe a cop sometimes. That's what happens. Whatever. But the city of Panama is beautiful, right? But there's so many people going so many places. The taxis are insane. The stress
Yeah.
level. If you're gonna want to retire there, yeah, like if you could have things close and you can walk, it works. But to commute anywhere is where you would have the biggest issue. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's why you get out of it and you go to more like, like we could go to Chama, you can go to David.
Exactly.
There's all these different places because as soon as you leave Panama City, there's no traffic.
Yeah.
Right? It's all congested there. Once you get
Yeah.
out of there, it's open roads. The 4-hour drives are a lot easier when you have to go to different places of the country. So there's a lot of places to visit within the country that I didn't even know about.
Yeah.
La última vez que yo fui, I got to see David and Chiriquí, and it was just amazing. Like it was part. Like I didn't know Panama got to 70 degrees and it was nice. Like I thought Panama was just hot.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
all my experience ever was. So it's there's these different parts where the nature aspect of Panama is amazing, man. You get to see monkeys, you get to see three-toed sloths, and they're just out hanging out. Like, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's a whole different perspective. You definitely got to go check it out, man.
Yeah, man, I get where you're coming from. I remember the last time I went to Venezuela, I was 13 or 14. So this was about 21, 22 years ago. And I think I was in eighth grade. But I went to visit. I stayed for a week and a half. I think it was during my spring break. And I did nothing but go to the beach. I remember I went to the beach with my cousin one time. We snuck out of the house. We were supposed to be at the pool. The beach was like an hour and a half away. We jumped in the subway, caught a bus after the subway took us as far as it could. As a 13-year-old, you go to the shop to buy like a bottle of gin. And I told my cousin, I'm like, what? And he said, yeah, just go up to the guy and hand him the money and he'll give it to you. And I grew up in the States. And I was like, what is this dude talking about? He's trying to get me caught up. But I went over there, handed the money. I came back with a bottle of gin. My cousin came back with a pack of cigarettes. And then he ended up getting drunk on the beach as a 14-year-old. He did, not me. Of course, I was irresponsible. But yeah, no, I mean, that was good times. Right, the beaches were beautiful. And later on in the week, I remember going up this mountain and we were climbing for like 5, 6 hours. There were people on their Jeeps that would just like kind of ride by us and wave and, not offer to give us a ride. But yeah, like half the day, we got up early and we got to the top around noon. And it was beautiful. I mean, Venezuela is in the middle of the Amazon, right? So you have these lush rainforests and the jungle that we didn't even get to see. And so I get the allure, right? Like all that stuff that you're talking about, Panama, and being able to see all these creatures in the wild. That's definitely something that I want to have the opportunity to see. You're not just gonna be able to see that in Ohio or Nebraska or wherever. So I mean, I miss that about Venezuela, and hopefully one day, if the situation changes, we'll be able to go visit as a family. But right now, my other options are, Panama, Costa Rica, Colombia, places like that.
No, but I've heard of Venezuela. Sorry, I've heard that Venezuela has amazing like landscape, like Los Roques and like Margarita, like really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, man, there's a lot, right? Because there's so many different like diverse geographical or environmental regions in Venezuela. Like in the northwest, you have the mountainous region, and part of that is the Andes Mountains that are make up Venezuela and Colombian Andes. You have Los Llanos, which are like the plains, right? This grassland, savanna. You have like the Maracaibo region, which are like the lowlands. You have this river, El Orinoco, which is one of like thousands of rivers that run through Venezuela. And of course, you can't forget about like the Amazon, right? There's the Angel Falls or El Salto del Ángel, which is this beautiful like Amazon rainforest in Venezuela. So there's so many different kinds of climates and just different types of geography that you can experience, right? And of course, you mentioned Los Roques. There's different beaches because it is a tropical. It's a tropical country, right? It's in the Caribbean, and so you get to experience that kind of tropical, humid climate. But then there's also like a wet season, and so the wet season I think goes from like May to October, November, and I think that's considered like the winter there, and then the rest of the time is summer. So essentially, it's like two seasons, right? Like wet slash winter, and then the dry summer.
Yeah, I understand. I have a lot of friends from Venezuela in my work, and I understand the whole thing. Like, I hope it just gets better someday. Like, it's I wish, because it's I don't know what will happen if Panama happens for the same thing. Like, I really feel for you guys. Like, I wish you can go back soon and just enjoy your country again, and just live it there. You know what I mean? Enjoy it.
I hope so, man. That's the goal, right? At some point to be able to go back. We're hoping that the political climate changes and allows us to be able to do that. But in the meantime, we're gonna enjoy places like Spain and Panama and Costa Rica, and go back to Colombia and visit family there, and kind of see what the rest of Central and South America has to offer, and really the rest of Europe as well.
Yeah, I think it's the life we all deserve. Like, to travel cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly. That's why when I talk about being in Spain and the fact that everything's so convenient, you can walk everywhere you want to. But if you want to go to another city, then you just jump on a train. It's cheap and it's convenient. If you want to go to another country, if you want to go to Germany, if you're gonna go to Italy, you buy you get a one-way ticket for €60, and you don't have to worry about buying a round trip ticket. You get there, you explore. If you want, you take a train back, or you buy your ticket back another day, and you're not paying $400. You're paying $60 each way, and I just you can't beat that, And so, even though I talk about the convenience and stuff, at one point my wife and I did talk about retiring in the Philippines, and the place that we talked about retiring is out in the province in the middle of nowhere. It's like 6 hours from Manila. That's a 6 hour drive. And there is like a somewhat major city close by, but that's another hour and a half to 2 hours. And I don't know if I would call it a major city. And so I don't have a problem with like retiring out in the middle of nowhere as a 45-year-old. But being in Alicante for that week and having those conveniences, right? That ability to just go to the drugstore, the supermarket, go grab something to eat, and all you gotta do is walk 10 minutes. That's pretty hard to beat.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Yeah. So, Primo, where would you retire? Where would you? And I'm guessing Lucas, right? Because I mean, let's be honest, he's the best thing that ever happened to you. One of the nicest guys on the planet.
Oh, he's there
Where would you guys
sleeping.
retire? Yeah, he
Well,
know.
we just well, we have discussing. Well, I mean, we're discussing that, but I think we are thinking about retiring in the south of Brazil, because he's from Brazil, and he was born in the south, and he lived his whole life in Rio de Janeiro.
Hmm.
But also, like, the south is so incredible. Like, people every time think about Brazil, and they think about Rio or Sao Paulo, but I feel like people take for granted, like, how amazing the south of Brazil is. Like you don't think about it because people think about the main cities, but the south
Mhm.
is my favorite part of Brazil. Like I just love the south. It's just very different. You can have like the best landscapes. You can have the most beautiful people in the world, the best beaches, the best mountains, and also it's just the nicest people of Brazil, in my opinion, are in the south. So I think we'll definitely retire there. Or we also thought about Boquete. Boquete is here in Panama, but it's too quiet. So I think south of
Way
Brazil.
too quiet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's way too quiet, and we're I
Yeah.
mean we're all
Boquete,
souls, but
Yeah, that's a little too quiet. You want to have a little bit of excitement going on.
exactly.
yeah. Yeah, I'm okay. Like I went there. I went there. That's where we had our Airbnb, and I was like, "Oh, this is nice," but it's dead. Like there's nothing. There's nothing there. There's like one coffee shop, and
One
that's
bar.
and like a couple restaurants and one bar, and that's it.
Yeah,
Like it's there's like that's when you retire when you're really old. And you're
yeah,
like about to die. Like
yeah. Oh
when you
my
got like
god,
someone
yeah.
like that when you, you can't do much else.
Man, that sounds like a place that you go there for a week when you want to find yourself and get away from the world.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
exactly right.
I mean, there's a volcano. I mean,
100%. That's what.
okay, it's beautiful. Like
Yes.
I just went to a wedding and they have the volcano. It's called Volcan Baru. It's like around 3,000 something meters, and it's incredible. There's a lot of things to do with nature. There's waterfalls. There's like a thing to do, zip line and river rafting and all that. But it's active during the day, but during the night you have a couple of places to go. But I don't know if retiring there would be like the best option now. But definitely, if you come to Panama, you have to go to Boquete. It's pretty
Yeah,
beautiful. Yeah.
it's somewhere you visit when you're young, but to retire, yeah, it would like it seems nice, but that's yeah, like it's 50 years from now retiring. It's not
Yeah.
like retiring at 45.
Yeah.
Like, because
Yeah.
I thought about it, I was like, I can retire there at 45. There's nothing there. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's nothing there. There's
Absolutely.
not much to do there. Yeah, man. But it's definitely a place you got to visit. Like, it's on my list every time I go to Panama now because I need to
Yeah.
see more parts of Panama.
Yo, so when are we going to Panama?
I'm not taking you. I'm not taking you anywhere. I'm
Oh.
leaving you here.
Well, you're gonna have to show us around when I visit.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't want to brag about it, but I think I can always make you the best. I can be the best host ever.
Yeah,
Like I can,
yes,
I
yes,
can take you
yes.
to really cool
100%.
places.
Yes,
You remember the
yes,
rooftops we took you in Casco Viejo? Like there's like,
yes.
cool spots that we can take you in the city, and some blast islands, of course, are like the best islands. They're beautiful. If you like the Caribbean, that's the best spot. So I'm sure you're gonna like it here.
All right, man. You just sold yourself as the best host. I'm not sure when we're visiting, but we're gonna have to link up, and you're gonna show us other sites when we get there.
Yeah, Josh is the greatest host. Josh is the greatest host. Went to some amazing restaurants, amazing bars. Because a lot of the Panama that I grew up seeing has changed a lot, right? Like a place called like Panama Vieja, where they have like all these old buildings, old structures of like the turn of the century have become like modernized, not gentrified, but like have become upscale, where they have like
Yeah,
rooftop bars and all these amazing restaurants and top just like the best food you've ever had in your life. It's amazing, man.
yeah,
When you see it, you're like, oh, what are these old buildings? But you walk in there and you have some of the best soup you ever had in your life, the best drinks you've ever had
yeah,
in your life. It's
yeah,
amazing, man. It's amazing,
yeah,
and that's all walking. It's all walking distance. Everything you can walk to.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
perfect.
it's a little bit like it'll be a little bit like Madrid. Like it's a little bit in that aspect
Yeah,
where you have like the Madrid market, not so much the Barcelona market, which is a lot bigger, but like
yeah,
the Madrid market, it's kind of like that because the same, you know what I mean? It's the same conquistadores, the same people
yeah,
who conquered Panama were from Spain, so
yeah,
it's a lot of the same structures.
yeah.
It's beautiful, bro.
Okay, okay. So it's like similar to a lot of Europe and Spain specifically, where a lot of these older structures have been modernized and turned into cafes or shops, restaurants, whatever, places like that.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure you're gonna like it. And we still, I think it's in that part of the city. We have like this whole modern part, but also in our old town Panama. It's called Old Town Panama. We have like this whole vibes and all the architecture is very like inspired. In all the Spanish. I don't know a lot about the terms, but it's all very
Yeah,
aligned.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Baroque style, but I'm not sure on the term either. But I know what you mean. Like the architecture kind of falls in line, and it's similar to the Spanish architecture or European architecture of the time.
One of those, yeah.
Yeah, patriarchal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Josh struggles with English a lot less than I struggle with Spanish, which is a little bit embarrassing. Okay, Primo. So tell us. I think we've covered Panama pretty good. So tell us about After Talks, man. I'm proud of you for what I mean. Like I do this podcast because I love to talk to people, love to socialize, and you started something for actually networking. So tell us about that, man.
Thank you, Primo. Thank you for liking the project. It's basically look. I mean, I've been working. I mean, I studied mass communications. Then I
Mhm.
did like some specialization in branding and all that. I've always been passionate about PR, communications, and marketing. And so I've been working my whole 10 years of career because I'm 29 in retail. I've worked in Tommy Hilfiger doing PR for Latin America, and now I'm working in Adidas, working for specifically for Reebok, like seeing all PR and events and marketing and influencers for Latin America. So I've been always passionate about people and about networking, about meeting people and about experiences. So when I at some point of my short career, I was like, hey, I'm missing something. I always had that that thing, that fire in my soul. Like I wanted to create something from scratch. I've always been like
Mhm.
I've always wanted to like create something from new. So I was like, should I don't know, what can I do? Like I used to do like blogging. I had my blog and all that, but I was like, I want to do something more experiential. Like I want to bring people together. I want people to connect. So 2 years ago, I was invited when I used to work in Tommy Hilfiger. I was invited to New York for a TED Talk conference that Tommy Hilfiger had with TED, and I had a topic to talk about, and I talked about the power of saying no. So that whole experience in New York with the TED people really inspired me to 6 months after create my project called After Talks, which is basically an after office community for people to come talk and monthly have a space to talk about different topics between diversity, entrepreneurship, creativity, and also um, uh, culture. It's very important, like the
Mhm.
culture and how people can be together and just talk about certain topics, because we have to learn to just come back a little bit to the basics and to try to connect offline. It's not always on social media where we can just be friends. We can also be friends and be in touch with people outside the screens. So it's been 2 years and it's been great. Whenever you have your project, you always try to find a way to capitalize it and make money from it. So it's a struggle. Of course it is. So
Right.
it's just my what I can say is like, whenever you have that fire, you have to just continue like believing in it. Always you have to innovate and create new things. And thanks to that, I've been like super had the opportunity to work with like different sponsors, like banks. One of the most important banks in Panama is supporting. The embassy of Netherlands in Panama is also supporting. So people that really
Wow.
see something from this, it's like believing in the project. So I feel like super happy about it and proud.
Man, that sounds awesome. So I have a question. Is it open to any profession, or is it specific to people in like marketing or sales or attorneys? You guys just kind of welcome everyone.
Yeah, it's open to absolutely anyone. You can be a professional, an entrepreneur, or a student. So basically, we announced it on Instagram, and now we have a website that we're launching next month, and people just can find out what's the topic of the month, who are the speakers, and where's the place. I normally do it in a hotel, so it's easy for people to go. If they come in cars, they just put it on public parking, and there's always drinks because it's an after office. So
Mhm.
that's very important. Like it's not a chatela. It's not something for people to just listen. It's an actual interaction. So
Right.
that's it. I think that's a funny part. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's really important to have events like this for not just young professionals, but professionals in general, right? And like you said, students, entrepreneurs, people in specific professions. Like I belong to an organization, and we have monthly luncheons for people in the like accounting, finance field, right? But then there's also an event held here in Cleveland that's independent of my profession. It's called Mix, and it's what it is. It's a mixer. You're there to socialize, and it's held at the Cleveland Museum of Art. So along with the event every month, you get to see new art exhibits, talk to people from different fields. Some might be students, some might be businessmen, entrepreneurs, and I go into these events, whether it's the one for my organization or the mixer event. I go into it with an open mind, right? And just not really seeing what I can get for myself, but just making to be able to make connections with people, because I think that's what these events are for, right? Be able to make a connection with someone else, because I think I'm an older millennial, right? And I'm still a millennial, but I'm right there on the outer edges. And I think a lot of younger generations, millennials included, rely too much on the internet and social media, right? Being able to reach to someone, just DM someone, email someone, and that's great because it makes anyone accessible. But really, you want to be able to have that face-to-face interaction, right? Get to know people, learn to read a room, things of that nature. And so it's awesome that you're putting up an event like this. So like the mixer event, it's $10, right? You go there and you pay your cover $10 or $15. Is there a cover charge for your event?
Yeah, no,
Yep.
absolutely. I feel like interaction is important, and just to answer your question, no, no, people don't pay to a fee to come in. It's always free. So that's the main point. Like I want people to just come and feel free to just feel free to just come. Don't pay anything. Just but something like this year I did like a little brainstorming session with a creativity coach, and I really basically just um had like an epiphany, like okay, maybe this is not a networking initiative. This is actually an after office community. So which is not the same, because people think about networking, and sometimes they marry the networking word with working. So it's like,
Yes.
no, I don't want
Yes.
people to work. I want people to just relax, because it's called after talk. It's after office. So now I'm trying to be more casual during the talks. I was basically like in a stage. Now I'm just more like down to earth with speakers, drinking beers, so people feel free to just relax and talk. Of course, don't getting drunk and shit faced, but like more moderated.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's important. Like the interaction is important, and I feel like the dialogue can save so many things in life, in everyone's life. Like dialogue about things and having conversation about topics that are important. I feel like it's really, really healthy for everyone.
So you mentioned one of the things like talking about diversity and stuff like that. What are some of like the diversity issues that Panama faces? Like me and John talk a lot about the diversity issues we face here, like being like him being like a white Hispanic and me like a darker Hispanic. Where that like there's a little bit of a different version of that. Like is there diversity issues as far as that in Panama?
Well, that's interesting. You mentioned that in Panama. Well, there's different types uh, of diversity issues. For example, not only in after talks, but also where I work in Adidas, we have a strong diversity. Diversity pillar. Like we really work on diversity, because it's not only about sexual diversity, like being gay or not. It's more than that. Like
Yeah.
it's about, for example, how many VPs of the company are men or women. Like for example, how many people from color you can see in the SLT or in the VP places. It's so wide. It's like a very wide topic, because I feel like in Panama we're moving in the right direction, but that's sometimes I feel like I see a lot of men, in really high positions. I don't see as many women yet. For
Mhm.
example, in the sexual thing, I feel like we're moving in the right direction. Like equal marriage is it called like that? Equal marriage is still not legal in Panama.
Equality. Yep.
Yeah, equality. Yeah, it's still
Uh-huh.
not legal in Panama. Hopefully soon. But there's certain things here that, for example, for discapacitados here in Panama, it's like we need representation. I feel like representation is what can cure every problem with diversity. And I feel like
Yes.
in the future, I really want to advocate more about diversity, and not only in my after talks, but everywhere. Like I really want to like be a voice to diversity. And I'm also super proud about my boyfriend because he's like the leader of the whole diversity theme from Estee Lauder. He works in Estee Lauder. So it's very important for people to actually, learn and connect and talk about these topics because representation is what we need. For example, I love that Parasite won Best Movie at the Oscars. Like those type of things are super important for us to like realize that it's not only about having a white female or white male in the screens or like in the positions, the
Yep.
higher
Right.
positions.
Yep. No, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's one of the things we talk about all the time on this podcast because it's like we understand like Jonathan gets he'll be talked about a different way because he doesn't look Hispanic. Like
Right.
the perception of what Hispanic is and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
And we were talking about it on my last podcast. We were talking about Dwayne Wade, right? His daughter was transitioning from a I don't know if we caught it. It's transitioning from a boy to a girl, right? Because I think she's 13 and all this stuff. And there's like all these comments and all this stuff about it. It was like, dude, like, why does it matter? And I told them, and I told you this when I was in Panama, like, you were the person that like really woke me up to a lot of stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because you've always been such a confident kid and a confident man that like it made me wake up. I was like, man, look, like, so what, like, because you were my first like experience and family of somebody who was gay, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
like, dude, like just seeing you guys, like seeing you with Lucas. Lucas is one of the greatest people I've ever met. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like you're one of you've always been one of the nicest and most welcoming people. It's just like, dude, they're just like it's just people.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like diverse, like it shouldn't be like a token thing, but like you do have to be put out there because that experience alone shut down a lot of my ignorance que yo tenía cuando era
claro,
un niño. Tú sabes? You just get more of that experience and education of people. It changes people's minds. I was listening to a podcast with this black guy who changed a lot of like the KKK's mind.
yeah,
So the KKK here in the States is what like Nazis are, like white
yeah,
supremacists. La gente que piensa que los blancos son mejores.
yeah, yeah,
Like, and he'd go to their bars and just talk to them, and he convinced like over 200 people to drop their racism just by talking to them.
yeah,
Right, and that's really what diversity is, just getting that experience of that education. Like, look, this is who I am.
yeah,
Let's just talk, man. And then we're like, oh wait, it's not like this and not like it. No, man, just people. Like,
yeah.
we're just people. At the end of the day, we're just humans.
It's just representation, as you mentioned. Representation is key.
Absolutely.
The thing is that there's so many people in the world. Like, if there would be like 7 billion people like that guy they mentioned, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's a hard work. Like,
Mhm.
and even though we're still in 2020, we still have issues like with presidents that are not like and leaders like that are not welcoming diversity. It's like like we go forward, then we take 2 steps back. So it's like
Yeah.
we need to work harder than ever to not being shut down about diversity of any type.
Yeah, I mean, it's here in the States because it's such a big place as far as the landmass, it's very segregated. So certain parts of the country, I mean, Miami and New York and certain cities, those are anomalies, right? Where you see a lot of different cultures mixing together. That's not the norm. Most of the states are either certain towns or cities are mostly white or mostly black, and then even areas where like a lot of just Latinos are there by their own community,
Yeah,
and so there's not a lot of like a lot of people mixing and getting to know each other. When I went to basic training, that was probably the first time that some of the kids, I was 20 years old in the army, and it's probably the first time that some of those kids had been around a black person or a Latino person,
yeah,
besides maybe seeing like, I don't know, migrant workers, that come through
yeah,
in the summers, like Mexican migrant workers and stuff like that.
yeah,
That they really weren't exposed to those cultures, to that type of people, and that, I mean, that's a problem. Like, people are afraid that someone's going to take my country, or you're going to take my job or my language, or why aren't you speaking my language in my country?
yeah.
And they're just people are afraid of what they don't really understand, what they don't know. And
That's right.
that's a problem I know here, right? It kind of helps kind of helps keep that racism festering, that fear of the unknown, and then people never really step out of their comfort zone to get to know those other cultures and races. It's tough. I don't know that will ever, overcome it here in this country. It's tough because the political culture, they
Yeah.
like to play those sides against each other, and unfortunately human beings, we're not very intelligent people, and we just
Yeah.
kind of we just fall into those games, right? At the end of the
Yeah.
day, like my neighbor is a super staunch Republican, all the way, like Donald Trump supporter.
Oh my
Like,
God.
there's nothing you can say about him. He and I get
Yeah.
along great
Yeah.
because we're people and we get along and we live together and we're neighbors.
Yeah.
And he kind of jokes, will send me text messages, or he goes to a Trump rally and he'll send me pictures with his hat and stuff like that. Um, but dude, that was the first person that welcomed me to the neighborhood. I needed some, like, a lawnmower to mow my lawn because I didn't have any of my stuff moved in. He was the
Yeah.
one that let me borrow it. If I need any tools, if I need to know about something going on in the community, he's the
Yeah.
one that kind of introduced me. We went to this event a few months ago. It's a fundraiser event, and getting to meet some of the people in the community, the Chamber of Commerce, the mayor.
Yeah.
He's a business owner, and so he knows a lot of them. And he was introducing my wife and myself to these people. So again, he's a way out on the right Republican, but at the end of the day, like, we're human beings and we have to
Yeah.
learn to get along with one another. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, people don't realize that. And I'm in this community where it's 97% white, and so I am the minority. My
Yep.
wife and I make up the entire minority of the community. Pretty much, I joke, right? It's like my family is the entire demographic for Latinos and Asians here. That's it. But in other areas, it isn't that way. People are just around the same. They're around people that look like themselves, so
Yeah.
they're not
Yeah.
forced to get to know other people,
Yeah.
and really, unless they go out of their way to seek that diversity, to learn about different cultures. And we're just talking about race right now. I mean, there's like, there's the LGBTQ community, people that aren't around that. On and on and on. Again, it's tough, right? Whether it's political system, whether it's church
Yeah.
saying one thing or the other, there are a lot of things that, while they may be good, like church, I have nothing against church or religion. They're great for bringing people together in great communities. Unfortunately, sometimes the wrong people use them with the wrong intentions to kind of
Yeah.
separate people based on their beliefs or how their interpretations of whatever they believe in.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I feel like that's the topic. I mean, can you imagine if that's one of the issues in the States? Can you imagine that in Latin America, where, I mean, we're still struggling with so many things about education and like basic stuff.
Right.
And then, diversity is still not in the top 3 list. So, but I still feel like we can just evolve as a society if we have people that are focused on the great things, on the basic needs, like education, like social care, all that. But also, if we have leaders or advocates that can talk about the cool stuff that are important as well, like diversity, and about how we all matter in the same place. I think that's important. Yep.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think what you're doing with After Talks, that's a step in the right direction, right? Bringing people together, because I'm sure you see all types of people come into your events, and
Yeah.
whether it's sexual orientation or their race or the career fields they're in and the positions they hold. So it's an awesome opportunity for people to really get to know and be exposed to that diversity.
Yeah. It's very
It's just immersing people in different situations that they wouldn't typically be in, right? Like different conversations that they wouldn't have, things that they've been wondering about. It's honestly a great organization, man. I'm honestly, obviously, way more proud of you. You know what I mean, than anybody else, because that's amazing, bro. Like, just getting those conversations out there is a great way to start getting people more comfortable with it, and with everything, right? Because it doesn't have to be just sexual orientation or diversity. It could be, hey, man, I'm thinking about getting another job, or I've been thinking about starting this business or this company. And it's, you know what I mean, and figuring out how to do all that, and there's people in that networking that'll work. So, as you see, if you don't know, I'm gonna give you a little breakdown here. My cousin lives. What floor are you on? Like the 37th floor of your penthouse?
No, we moved to we moved to the 27th floor. So basically, if I'm here, you can see like the whole sunset in my face. So yeah, that's why I'm moving.
Yeah, there you go. So my cousin's up there, so the sun hits him before most people. It was awesome. But yeah, man, like I said, having those conversations and getting that kind of consciousness out, starts and then becomes an advocate for something else or something else, like what you're starting here, what you're building is pretty much unstoppable. You know what I mean? Because if one person gets a good tip there and decides to start a business for something else, like, oh man, I went to After Talks, and then it becomes, you know what I mean? Well, you didn't want to, but it becomes a whole different branch of what you want to do. Then it exposes your
After Office
company, your
community,
corporation. Yeah, and After Office community to like, oh, I've never heard of After Talks, and they go there and it could just grow, where this could be a really sustainable thing.
Yeah,
you know, like that's why one of the reasons why I started this podcast. Yeah, one of the reasons why I started this podcast was like to get conversations like this out there. You know what I mean? Like I never did like any after hours work or any after hours community or anything like that. I just kind of stayed, you know what I mean, stayed in my thing. I would have loved to have known something like this. But like, oh, there's other jobs and other opportunities out there, and there's other way to learn about stuff and all these things, you know, and I could be having a drink while I'm at it. So it's not stressful where you're like, oh my God, I gotta be all uptight. And
exactly. I think that's super important. Like, I feel like one of the things that I you know, when people come and they register, they normally put in the form like, hey, I ask a question like, hey, what are you willing to do or to see or to do in After Talks? And most of the people that come, no matter if they're like VPs, students, everything, they put learn. They want to learn something new. So I feel like that's a great insight. Like, we're all willing to learn something new in life, and that's great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. John?
Right. No, man, we were talking about, you know, diversity and people not really being exposed to others that are different from them. And so we grew up in Miami, and Miami is a melting pot of everything, right?
Yeah.
Other areas in the US aren't, not so much, but Latin America has a problem with, and at least I remember this when I was young, you know, and the culture is probably still the same, mucho machismo, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
So anytime that you like are different from what the norm is, right? In the States, if you're Latino, or not just Latino, Black, if you're gay, lesbian, part of the LGBT community, it's just depending on where you live in the country, it's going to be more difficult for you than other places, right? Just because it's more acceptable, even though, you know, like you said earlier, it's 2020, and the fact that we have to say it's more acceptable in some places but not acceptable in others, like people are just wanting to live their life. So, but in being in Panama and being in Latin America, what's the climate over there? Because you know, like I said, I haven't been back to Venezuela in 20 plus years. And so what's the climate in Panama when, you know, as an openly gay man, like how tough has it been, or not, to be able to live your life?
Well, that's a great question. I feel like I've been blessed with the family I've got. Like, first of all, I feel like when your foundation is it's supportive, when your foundation is there, and you really don't have that rejection, that's a great first step, first of all. But I know there's a lot of people that they don't have that luck in life. You know, there's a lot of people that I know that they haven't been welcomed to their house because they're gay or because they're whatever. I think the first thing is confidence. It has to be always in your mind, and even though if you're not being welcome home, you need to just stay true to yourself and just be focused on who you want to be, because I mean, I think the worst thing in life that you can do is living a life that's not yours, living someone else's life.
Right.
And so that's why you have to. I took a chance when I was younger and talked to my parents and blah blah blah. And that's, you know, you have to just take decisions, take decisions in life, and some decisions are gonna be harder than other decisions. So it's up to people to just decide who they want to be and how they want to live their life, because life is too short, guys. Like, it sounds super cliche, but YOLO.
No, but it's true, right? And it's great that you had that foundation, because you're right. Not everyone else has that foundation in their own family. They know that they can't go to their mother or their father, let alone their mother. They might not have both parents, but if they do, they know that they can't go to them because they'll be ostracized, right? They'll say, well, I can't call you my son or my daughter anymore. I'm not, and I'm not proud of the way you choose to live your life, or whatever it is. And I know that was true in at least growing up in Latino community, and I'm sure it's changed and evolved, but it's still. What's that?
because of the church effect, right? Because you're told from
Yeah.
when you're a kid that, oh, it's this and that. But I mean, obviously, I can speak for my own family. Like, I don't think that was ever like a thought in ours. Like, yeah, man, okay, we love you.
Yeah.
Like, let's just keep it moving. Like, we're still
Yeah.
here. Like, nothing changes. There wasn't like we're very lucky in our family because we're very open about a lot of our stuff. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, everybody knows each other's fault pretty much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of who we are. But yeah, at no point was it like I remember like John Carlos, like his first kid when he was 18
Yeah.
or 17 or 18. It was like, all right, we'll figure this shit out. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It wasn't on anything like, oh my God, I can't believe you ruined your life.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, all right, man, we're gonna be here to support you. What do you need? And it was the same thing with Josh. Like when he told us and we found out, I was like, okay, man, we love you. What do you need? If you need us, if anybody fucks with you, let us know because all 14 of us will show up and we're fucking somebody up. Like,
Yeah, I think that's super important. Like having that support, but also like in the real life, like outside the family, I feel like whenever like you have to decide like if you wanna just fight for yourself or you wanna be like down with other people's opinion.
Right.
And that's really up to you if you don't love yourself. And that's all that thing that I'm saying is all about self-love. If you don't love yourself enough, you cannot have all those things that I mentioned before. And nowadays there's a lot of mental health awareness nowadays more than ever, I think, and that's super important because I feel like that's where if you don't have a healthy or stable mindset or life, there's so many things you cannot do. So I feel like we always have an opportunity to be better, to learn, and to just be the better versions of ourselves. So I think that's super important.
No, man, absolutely.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I've told I've my youngest son, both my kids, but my youngest son is very the emotional type. So I joke around with them, but I let my kids know, and it's awesome that you had that same kind of support. It's like they should be comfortable coming to talk to you about anything as a parent, right? Because if you have kids, like you are the person they look up to. You're supposed to be the protector. You're supposed to be someone that has their back, and it's great that you had that family that said that you knew I can go and be open about who I am.
Yeah.
And they're going to support you no matter what, because really that's how it should be. And I find it crazy that we're having this conversation in 2020, right? Or at all, because even though I grew up around that the Latin community and not just Latin but everywhere, a lot of people just they're just close-minded. Like even though you kind of grew up seeing that, I grew up being accepted, not really accepting, like just if I choose to be who I choose to be, that's me. If you choose to be who you choose to be, and what we're doing is not affecting anyone else's lives negatively, then what is the problem? And unfortunately, some people find a problem that someone chooses to be different. Someone, or things that they can't help, right? Who you love, the color of your skin.
Yeah.
People find a problem with that. And it's unfortunate, but man, that's great that you had that support. I try to be the same for my kids. Like just let them know, hey, no matter what, like I'm here for you. And
that's very good.
That's all you can do, right? As a parent and as people, as friends. And some, even then, because there's someone that I was stationed with in the Army that I found out, he told me after the fact, like we were roommates, and he, being in the Army is tough, right? Because you're around a lot of like testosterone and all that stuff. Yeah. And we would go out to bars and hang out, and he would try to talk to the girls, but he wasn't his effort, wasn't really into it. His heart wasn't into it because that's not who he was. And and so people joked around with him a lot. I'm sure I was one of the guys that joked around a lot with like, but what do you need? Do you need to buy her a more expensive drink? Maybe you just need to buy her another drink, or maybe you need to wear a nicer shirt or whatever. But he didn't seem very confident. And years later, come to find out that he was gay, and he came on and we talked, and we talked through like Messenger for a while, and he just wasn't comfortable in himself. Like it's not that he didn't feel like he could trust in me. He just it's that self-love, right? Like you got to come to the point where you got to realize, this is who I am. This is me. Yeah. And he faced some hard stuff. Like he came out and disowned, I guess is the word. Like his father wasn't really having any of that. He didn't want to call him his son anymore, and you go through things like that. So that, I'm sure, was going through his mind when he came out, and why he wasn't really coming out publicly, because he knew that he would face that backlash. And growing up in Texas, like, I think that's all I have to say. He grew up in Texas, so that's something that there are apparently there are no gay people in Texas. I don't know what to tell you.
Wow.
The Cowboys and the guns and everything. That's the culture over there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was self-love. Like, he just eventually got to the point he realized, I can't keep hiding who I am, and he found when he left the army and he was not around all that testosterone and all that, the stuff that goes on. It's like a locker room mentality, and he found a group of friends and a community that he was able to be himself. He was able to come out and then really, kind of start living his life the way he wanted to live his life, instead of being in hiding. So it's unfortunate it took that long for him, but I'm glad that he finally was able to come out and find people.
I'm glad for him too. Yeah.
That's powerful stuff, man. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, in the military, it's a different kind of culture. It's just it's weird.
Yeah.
It's unhealthy, and it's honestly toxic, right? Like, it's not, because if they're serving their country, why does it matter? But so what, besides diversity, right? Like, what kind of speakers do you have at after talks and stuff like that? Because we just went on on a 30-minute thing about LGBTQ, which is awesome. Yeah. I love it. I love these conversations.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what other talk about? Like, you said you have like vice presidents, VPs, and stuff like that. So what do they talk about?
Yeah, we talk a lot about entrepreneurship, and also how can you have your personal branding in a level that you can actually create your new idea and making money from it. Like, if you're having a podcast, or if you're having a new restaurant, or if you're opening something new, like, how can you inject your personal branding in anything you do? For example, one.
Right.
Two, I also have speakers that are experts in different areas. For example, a lot about digital world, a lot about artistic world, a lot about sports, like different areas that are worth talking about are part of our Ash Talks. And for example, this year we started the year in January. We had our 24th edition about environment. We talk a lot about how our world, how this year started, like with Australia and all that. So we have like some speakers that were like experts in that topic, and we talk about recycling as well. We talk about being vegan and just having a more plant-based culture life. So it really the topics really vary per month, and I also try to find the speakers that can provide the most valuable talk to the guest. So yeah, I really invite you guys to, whenever you can, go check it out, and you can see like our past recordings or pictures. I think it's cool. Yeah. I wish I could do something like that in the US when I go there, a news version or something.
I'm definitely gonna check it out, man. You know what I mean, man. I support anything and everything you do, Primo. You know what I mean?
Thank
so
you,
I'm definitely gonna check it out. I'll post it all over social media, whatever I can do to get the word out, man. Because I think it's honestly great, man. Because it is, like Jonathan said earlier, I make fun of him because he always goes, I'm a millennial, like with air quotes. Hey, man, like, you're young. We get it. There's younger people than us, but also it's amazing because a lot of young people don't know how to socialize and talk to other people and network and do that whole community thing. So that's honestly great, man. It's you're fighting against the nature that's being forced on people with the digital world. So getting people to talk to people is a great way to go about it, man. I'm sure you're gonna have like people who meet there that like end up getting married and shit because they never, you know what I mean? One person would never. I'm sure there's gonna be some ones that come up, so you'll be a little bit of a Cupid in there too. I mean, that's normal, right? I go, this person sees this other person. I go, man, let's go out, and then, you know what I mean? Be like.
I hope I get invited to the wedding.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
You'll be the guest of honor.
You have to be invited to the wedding. Yeah, man.
Wait, so you said you're gonna?
I love you, man. This has been a great conversation.
Absolutely. Good. I'm actually really proud of you guys of doing this. I feel like you are also like leveling up the whole conversational thing, and I feel like it's very important to keep doing these things. I'm inviting people, and if you ever feel like you think I know someone that can also be part of your experience or initiative, let me know. I'm mostly happy to support you guys as well, and just share the word about the men's chatter and everything.
Yeah, man. Awesome. Whenever, like I said, whenever you want to come back on and tell us about something new going on with you, because I know you're always doing something, or with Lucas, or when I need to come over there and have a nice tux because you guys are getting married. Let me know, man, because I will be there.
Absolutely. Let's do
absolutely
it soon. Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Count with that.
Yeah, man. Got a nice tux ready, boy. All right, John, you got any last words, any last questions for the most beautiful cousin in my family? Listen, man, I wanted to tell you this. You're the tan Fran of our family. You have perfect hair, and it's a little bit disturbing because I don't have hair like that. Your hair is always perfect, and it's disrespectful.
Yeah.
No, I
John, you
just
got anything, brother?
yeah, no. So the after talks, it's available. You said you're gonna have the previous ones on the website, or can people see them on like any other platform?
Yeah, right now I have some recordings and some images and like everything in Instagram, and the website is just being launched next month. But I send it to you guys like for you to see the first draft.
Right.
But in the future, I want to do more live streaming, so people that are not here can also participate. So that's also in the projects. Last year I did it twice, but it's a lot of logistics, like
Yeah.
to coordinate that, and I also work. So so I'm like trying to like do more of that for this year. So I'm pretty sure you guys are going to be more than welcome to see the digital part of it as well.
Listen, if there's anything you need, any questions you have, because I've been figuring out this digital stuff. Jonathan's really good with digital and all this stuff, like streaming to YouTube, getting a page going, making it your own TED Talk. You let us know, man. We'll get the word out. Any questions you might have, let us know. Like, I know you know how to work in the digital world because you've been doing it for years. But if there's any questions you could have, man, just let us know, bro. We're here for you, man.
Thank you, guys.
Always.
I can't wait to share this for my friends to see it.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming.
Man. Primo, te quiero mucho. Hablamos pronto.
Hablamos pronto, guys. Have a great weekend and have a great week next week.
Tú
Ciao.
también. Ciao.
See you.
Ciao. Thanks for listening to the Man Chatter Podcast with your host, as always, Ben Borges. Till next time, peace.